Bhavan Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Ki Radhe Jaya Radha Jaya Gaura Nitai Mayapur Sakti Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Mayapur Sakti Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Mai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada ki yes. Hare Krishna. So thanks for coming again on Sunday feast. I hope you had a lovely feast. And as we planned, so we will be discussing about Lord Jagannath. We discussed last week as well. We'll continue from there. I'll try to summarize a bit where we were and then we'll continue from there. Okay, so let's share the prayers. Mirandasya Jnananjana Salakya Chakshur Urmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschyati Desatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we'll continue today from where we have left last week. So we'll just recap before we continue. So on the last week we discussed about Lord Jagannath in the way how it's being described in Skanda Purana, and we talked about that Krishna is Nitya Navayamanam. So Krishna is always ever fresh, it's always youth. In the similar way, his pastimes are always fresh, ever new. And when we discuss about the pastimes again and again, the devotee relates more and more. Even though the pastimes are same, but we relish it more because it's always new. It's always something new to get from this. I'm sure devotee shares this a lot of time, that when we read Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, again, same purport, we find something new. You must have experienced as well. It's something new. So how could I miss it? In a similar way, whenever we hear the pastimes of the Lord, though we knew it, but it becomes more and more enlightening to us. It enlightens us towards more and more. And then we discussed about how Jaimini Rishi is discussing it with sages in the Utkal Khanda in Skanda Purana, where we talked about briefly that how Lord Brahma was distressed, that oh my goodness, what kind of creation I am making where everyone will become distressed. Is there some place where people can get bliss in this material world? And then Lord Vishnu appeared and he says, there is a place, O Brahma, that's Purushottam Kshetra. And then we discussed how Lord Brahma went there, and as he went there, he prayed to Lord Niramadhav, and Yamaraj came there as well. And he says, wow, if it's a place people will get liberated from here, then what's my job? If my job is finished. However, Krishna says, no, don't worry, you have something to do. And then Lakshmi Devi, she explained the glory of that place, Purushottam Kshetra, where she talks about the pastime of Markandeya Rishi, how Markandeya Rishi, who has got life for 7 kalpas, and how he went there, that we discussed last week. And we discussed about how Markandeya Rishi saw a very, very beautiful form of the Lord. That's how Krishna is with his lotus hand, holding his lotus feet and sucking the toe in his mouth. Like that nice words, Kararavinde, Padaravinde, Mukharavinde, Viniveshayanam. So by lying, Krishna is holding his lotus feet and sucking this, right? However, and then Brahmaji and Lakshmi Devi, Brahmaji and Yamaraj all disappear. However, before disappearing, Lakshmi Devi told to Brahmaji that a king called Indradumna will appear and please help him out, assist him. And by just saying this, she disappeared. And we finished our discussion here last week, and we'll continue from here. So when the sages heard that Lakshmi ji has said about Indradumna king, the sages, they got inspired to ask about King Indradumna, and they asked to Jaimini Rishi, could you please elaborate the pastime? What happened? And then Jaimini Rishi started explaining about this whole pastime. He says that in Satyuga, there happens to be a king called Indradumna. His kingdom was known as in Avanti. I think it's near Ujjain nowadays in MP. And there, he's supposed to be in lineage of Lord Brahma. And he was very, very pious, very truthful, very well-ruling kingdom. And the people in the kingdom were very, very nicely to each other. So it's kind of flourishing kingdom. And we hear from Bhagavatam that when the king is pious and he is worshipping Krishna, the Mother Earth, the nature, provides everything in abundance. So the people, they can live very peacefully, right? And we hear how Mother Earth keeps everything when the king start becoming envious, or when they don't worship Krishna, right? When they deviate from their path. Earlier, the king used to be called as Raja Rishis. So how can a king become Rishi? That's the way, because they used to take instruction from the Brahmanas and worship the Lord at the same time as a duty. At the same time, they used to take care of the kingdom, right? Both way, worshipping the Lord and kingdom. And Prabhupada also says the same, that in this Kali Yuga, we don't have to give up our family life. You don't have to give up our job. At the same time, we can actually worship Shri Shri Karuna Mahapurusha, isn't it? Very nicely. So the both way. And that's why the kings were called as Raja Rishis. So this king, Indradumna, was very, very pious, and very importantly, he was the devotee of the Lord. He is being compared with Brihaspati, saying that he was so pious, and he has so much wealth. He has many wives and many children as well, and he is being also compared to Indradev. Eventually, one day, he finished his whole rituals in the morning, duties, worshipping of the Lord, and while he was worshipping the deity, he thought that, is there any place in this world where I can go and see the deity face to face. As a person, I can see face to face. And then to become more, to know more about this, he used to inquire from the sages, whomsoever they travel, and they stop them and they ask, is there any place where I can see the Lord? Once what happened, in the group of sages, one of the sages, he says, yes, O Maharaj, I have been to a place and I have there for a year, and I was foolish, but by worshipping him, by seeing him, now I have got all the kind of very, very knowledgeable now, the shastras, just by seeing and worshipping the deities. And I have been there for a year. And then he explained more about the place. He says it's in western coast, and there is a place called as Nilanchala, and there it happens to be a mountain, Nilanchala, and there on the top, if you go, you'll find a Rohini Kund, and if you go beyond that, you'll find a place called as a hermitage, and there you will find a deity, Nila Madhava. He is made with Indra Nilamani. It's a blue sapphire and very, 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 very precious and valuable as well. And he explained it. And after explaining this pastime, this to King Indradyumna, the sages, they passed away. And with a blink of eye, he disappeared. It's like someone came, gave the information and disappeared. We see the same pastime happen in Madhavendra Puri pastime. Gopalji appeared, gave him a glass of milk, and then, okay, this milk is given by our villagers, you have it, I'll come back to take the glass. But he came in dream. Okay, I don't need any more glass, but I need you to lift me up from the place. In a similar way, the sages, they went back, and King Indradyumna, by knowing this, he had more desire to see the Lord, because he had now the description about the place and the Lord. So he called for an assembly, and he called his main priest, and he says that we need to go to this place right away. Let's move on. However, the main priest, called as Rajapurohit, he advised, he says, O king, we can do one more thing. We all can be here, and I can send my younger brother, Vidyapati. He can find the place, and then once we see the place, we have everything over there, we'll go there and see, we'll take darshan. So king agreed to the plan, and Vidyapati, he was chosen to discover this Nila Madhava deity. And as soon as Vidyapati heard that I am going to see, because he heard the description as well about the Lord, and the sages were described that anyone who even just sees the Lord is actually, he becomes liberated. Right? There is no more suffering for him. It just goes back to Godhead. Right? And as soon as he heard about it, Vidyapati was in ecstasy. He says, wow, even the king had desired to see Nila Madhav, but I am so fortunate that I will see him first. In that mood, Vidyapati started towards the place, towards the Utkala Kshetra, to find the Purushottama Kshetra, and the Purushottama Kshetra, Nila Madhava, who resides in the blue mountain that called Nilanchala. And Vidyapati started towards it. On the whole journey, he was actually thinking about the Lord all the time, and he was thinking in a way like to engage all his senses towards the Lord. Even he was seeing like actually I am in front of the deity now, and he started smelling. Wow, the fragrance would be very aromatic. Wow, the deities will be very, very wonderful to see him. Wow, I can engage my whole senses towards it. the way he was thinking, just thinking, right? We see a story in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Brahmana, a poor Brahmana. He was just making a sweet rice in meditation, and once he made the sweet rice, he thought, let me shake it. It is too hot for Krishna to eat, and he dips his finger and the finger got burned. Practically, there was no fire, there was no utensils, there was no sweet rice. But eventually, in his meditation, he was cooking a nice amrit keli, you may say, nice sweet rice for the Lord. And then his finger got burned, isn't it? In a similar way, now Vidyapati is actually thinking about the Lord, saying that, okay, now I am here and what's happening next. Right? And eventually he reached to the place called as a place of village for trivial, that Savara village. And there it was quite dark and there was a dense forest. He could not see anything beyond. He could not find any path to go. What to do next? He was stuck there. And he heard some voice. So he thought, looks like someone is staying nearby. And just by hearing the voice, he tried to find out the place. And he went and he reached a place called as Sabar Deepak, that hermitage. And there, the Sabha, the trivial villagers, they used to live there. And it's also been described that from this lineage, the Sabar lineage, we see the Sabari, Sabari in Ramayana. So this pastime happening in Satyuga. So we see Sabari comes in our Ramayana, how he gave the fruits to Ram to eat it, right? So she was waiting for Lord Rama as well. And as he managed to see the hermitage, and there the head of those villagers is called as Vishwavashu. He came to invite the Vidyapati, and he welcomed him very nicely. As Bhagavatam explains that at least we should try to give a nice place for someone to sit, and a glass of water. And if you have some more, we can wash the lotus feet. And if you have some more, some palatable dishes, but at least a nice words, nice place to sit, and water. These are available at anyone, for everyone. It doesn't matter someone is poor or rich, but actually we can give a place to sit down for the guest, give a sweet words, give him a glass of water, and that would please the guest itself. But as this Vishwavashu, he had just returned from worship of Nila Madhava. So because he used to go all the time to worship Nila Madhava, and there was very, very nice aromatic fragment were coming from his body. And Vidyapati, he smelled those. He says definitely something different. And he was, because he has a plan to see Nila Madhava, and he was smelling a fragrance. So he was thinking, looks like I am very, very near now. I am very, very near, isn't it? Sometimes when I used to wait on Santinoc, and our Harinam team, they were still on Om Sit Om. I'm WhatsApp them, Prabhu, are you coming? And then I used to hear Mridanga voice coming. Oh, now I know, okay, it's coming now. It's there on the way. In a similar way, Vishwavashu, by the fragrance of his body, the Vidyapati could think that I am very, very near. I am very near to my destination, right, to see the Lord. And Vishwavashu is being given a very nice honor to Vidyapati, and then he brought a nice palatable plate full of delicious prasadam. And by seeing that, Vidyapati, he got a bit bewildered. He says, tribal villager people, then from where do you get this opulent, nice, palatable dishes? Can you reveal me something? And then he said, yes, that's okay. However, he was a bit hesitant to reveal the things. Then Vidyapati explained that actually, I am I have been asked by my king Idadumna to find Nilamadhava. He says he is waiting for me, so I would try to find the place. Can you please help me out to find the place first, and then I'll have the prasadam. That's fine. But I'm eager to see Nilamadhava first, right? And he was so much, like someone says, his king is fasting to find the place, and now he is coming and eating a nice prasadam. So he said, no, let me find the place first, and then I'll have the prasadam. Then Vidyapati was here. That the story goes in two different ways. The devotee explains sometimes. One was the Vishwavashu. He knew very well. He knew it that someday a king will come and he will take away Nilamadhava. So the story goes like the king will come and he'll see the Nilamadhava, and Nilamadhava will disappear from here. So in that sense, the one deviation comes like Vidyapati, Vishwavashu was reluctant to inform this about the place. However, as he was from the king's side, he decided to take Vidyapati to Nilamadhava. And the second story goes like the Vishwavashu knew very well, and he says, this is a Lord's desire that a king will come and take Nilamadhava. That's okay. It's Krishna's desire. What can I do? Eventually, even if I don't desire, even if I try to hold back Vidyapati, it's Krishna's desire. It's Nilamadhava's desire. Eventually, it will happen. So it's described like when in the first part, when the Vishwavashu was reluctant, at that time he said, okay, I'll take you on top. However, I will make you blindfolded. I'll put a cloth on your eyes so that you can't see anymore. But Vidyapati, his name was Vidyapati. He was a good, knowledgeable person. So he got some mustard seeds and he poured on one side, and he knew that in very soon monsoon will come, and then it will grow up, so I can find the way towards the path. And another story, the line says, he took him nicely towards the place. So eventually, Vidyapati and Vishwavashu, they both went to see the Lord. And as we heard earlier, that there is a Rohini Kunda, and then Vidyapati, he took bath in the Rohini Kunda. Vishwavashu explains that anyone who takes bath in the Rohini Kunda is liberated. There is no more, it's being prescribed, like as I said last week, step in to step out this material world. So by being there, he's completely relieved from the pangs of material miseries. So then Vidyapati, after taking bath there, he went to see Nilamadhava, which is completely made with Indra Nilamani. His whole form is completely bedecked with so many valuable jewels, and by seeing it, he fell down unconscious. He said, oh my goodness, what is this? Amazing, amazing, and amazing. We'll see how this the description of Nilamadhava will be described when Vidyapati comes back and describes to king. We will see it here very soon. And then after seeing Nilamadhava, they both came back, and Vishwavashu said that let's go back, because in night it's a quite dense forest, and many the animals would come here, so let's go back to home very soon. And then they come back, and then Vidyapati asks, can you tell me something about this prasadam now? He says, yes, why not? Now you know everything. So eventually what happens is, every single day, Devatas, Indra, Brahma, they all used to come and worship Nilamadhava. And they used to bring so many ingredients, like we used to bring for the deities, isn't it? And then they bring so many ingredients, and then they go back, and we bring it back, and then we make nice palatable dishes for Lord. That's how he says, every day all the devatas, they used to come and see Lord. So we have everything. So we don't worry anything at all. We are completely dependent on Nila Madhava, right? And then Vidyapati, after seeing Lord, he went back to his Avanti, uh, and then he described this to King Indradimna. He has got a garland, and he gave the garland to the king, and he says this garland is ever fresh. The flowers, they remain all the time fresh. They doesn't go away. It's for years and years and years and years. And the fragrance of the flowers always remain intact as well. It's not just the flower, the fragrance too. And kings asked how it is. He says because these flowers this garland being made by the devatas. From the heavenly kingdom the flowers are. So it always remain fresh. And then just by holding the garland of Nila Madhava, the king Indradimna was in ecstasy. He says, wow, the prasad which I got now, it's as good as seeing the Lord now. And he could not behold anymore. He says, okay, let's hear about him. Right? And then he called for the assembly. Then Vidyapati started describing about the form of the Lord. He says nicely, he says the Lord forms is made with very, very valuable jewels and ornaments. It's called as Indra Nilamani. And Lord Brahma, Lord Indra, and all others, they come every single day to see him. And they used to bring so many offerings. The garland which I gave to you these are made by the devatas, and hence these always remain fresh and fragrant. And when I reach there by evening, he describes the thing now, like if you see in the Gopi Gita, it comes like the winds are very, very calm, very cool, right, and very fragrant. In that way, Vidyapati is explaining that the wind blowing on the top is very, very, very calm, very mild, very, very fragrant. The whole surrounding is completely filled with greenery, green forests are there. And that temple walls, we see nice pictures of Lord's pastime here. He says the temple walls are completely filled with jewels and ornaments. And the devotees are there, and they are singing the glories of the Lord continuously over there. And he says the Lord, he himself holding the four things: conch, disc, mesh, and lotus. Sankha, Chakra, Gada, and Padma. He's holding it. And beside him, Lakshmi Devi, she's giving a very, very beautiful glance to the Lord, right? And he says the Vishnu's form, his shoulder is quite broad, and is very, very strong shoulder over there. And he's wearing Kastuva Mani, right? We know Kastuva Mani, Krishna always wears Kastuva Mani. And on his waist also there is very nice ornamented, the waist belts are there for the Lord. We see all the time the deities, they used to have the belts, right? And even Srimati Lakshmi Devi, she is decorated with very, very beautiful, gorgeous ornaments. And behind that, there's Ananta Shesha is opening his whole hoods on top of this Lakshmi Devi and Nila Madhava, right? And in this way, he explained the description, and I think our Acharyas has explained so many things as well. I like to sing a couple of those. It comes in a Sucharu Vakta Mandalam, where is the Ashtakam Namami Nandanandanam. There's a nice verse comes: Tribhanga Deha Sundaram Nakhaditi Sudhakaram Amulya Ratna Bhusanam Namami Nandanandanam. Tribhanga Lalita Deha Sundaram is beautiful form of the Lord, and Tribhanga bend in three places. It says Nakhaditi Sudhakaram Amulya Ratna Bhusanam. He's saying the Amulya is incomparable Ratna. The jewels are the Bhushana, the ornaments of the Lord. And one more verse explains in Bhagavatam that the ornaments become the Krishna become the ornament of the ornaments. So it's not that when Krishna wears the ornament, he looks good, he looks beautiful. It's the ornament they becomes more beautiful when Krishna wears it. So Krishna becomes the ornament of the ornaments, right? And Namami Nanda Nandana. In this way, oh Lord, I offer my obeisances unto you. He says, Sucharu Vaktra Mandalam Sukarma Ratna Kundalam Sucharitanga Chandanam Namami Nanda Nandanam. Sucharu Vakra Mandalam. His Krishna's, he is extremely delightful, in whose beautiful ears hang jewels, earrings, and whose entire body is anointed with fragrant chandana. So I think just a couple of months back we had Chandan Yatra, where we see Lord Krishna is being completely anointed with the chandana fragrant, right? In this similar way, there are so many different verses being described in our shastras, like Adharam Madhuram, Badanam Madhuram, Nayanam Madhuram, Hasitam Madhuram, Hridayam Madhuram, Gamanam Madhuram, Madhuradhipate Rakhilam Madhuram. Krishna is Adharam Madhuram, his lips are sweet, and Vadanam, his body, his eyes, his walking, his talking, his laughing, everything is sweet, sweet and sweet, isn't it? In this way, Vidyapati explained the nice, beautiful, glorious form of the Lord, and just by hearing this, Indraduna Maharaj, he could not wait anymore. He says, let's go now. There is a twist now. Lord. And then as he wanted to go towards this, comes our Narada Muni. He says, wow, that's nice. And he says that the king thought, I will be making a nice temple for the Lord. And by his thought, Narada Muni says, yes, the wish you had are very glorious. He knew the next past and what's going to happen. And King Indradumna says, actually, Narada Muni, anyway, when Narada Muni came, he again welcomed him very nicely, with gave him a high seat and all the things. Then he says, oh Narada Muni, can you please do us a favor? Narada Muni says, yes, what? He says, actually we are all heading towards Purushottama Kshetra. We just have listened the glorious form and of the deities, and we are heading to see him. So would you please become our Margadarsaka? Can you take us to the path and guide us so that we can be with you, right? And then Narada Muni agreed. He said, let's go. So they all went. As they went towards this Sri Kshetra or Purushottama Kshetra, they reached to a place called, now it's Bhuvaneshwar, a Karuna. It is a garden, and where Lord Shiva is being worshipped. And there is a pastime goes where just when they were outside of this Utkala Kshetra, the king of Utkala came to meet King Indradumna. And he says, is everything okay? And the king of Utkal says, actually, by your blessings, O king, everything is flourishing here, but I have some bad news to you. He says, what that? And I'm sure you will be shocked by the news. However, I need to speak to you. Some days back, just few days back, there was a storm, and our beloved Nilamadhav has went away. He is now covered with all the sands, and we cannot see his darshan anymore. And can you imagine a king who has desire to see the Lord? His servant Vidyapati has seen him. He has described the glorious form of the Lord, but now he is no more in that place. He fell down unconsciously, and Narada Muni fanning him, get up, get up, get up. And then Narada Muni says that he convinced that don't worry at all. Even if Nilamadhav has went away from the place, He will give you darshan. Don't worry at all. You are such a nice devotee of the Lord. He will certainly give you darshan. And then it will describe that instructions come to him from Lord Shiva. Actually, Narada Muni says that no, this is the place of Lord Shiva. Even eventually, before that, Narada Muni says maybe it might have happened that king of Utkal is saying us to us, but let's go and check it. Maybe the place might have been displaced or something like that. We might find him there. Let's try to go there. And as you are heading towards, and King Indradamana thought, yeah, King of Utkal says that Nilamada went away. However, Narada Muni is saying he might be there. So he is more superior. Let's follow his words. And they went. And then they reached Bhuvaneshwar, where Narada Muni, he said that this is the place of Lord Shiva. We all know that Lord Shiva he used to become Kshetrapal or Dhamarakshak, and the Dhamarakshak of Puri is in Bhuvaneshwar, and there King Indradumna worshipped Lord Shiva with full meditation, and Lord Shiva became pleased with him, and he says, "O King, certainly and definitely Nilamadava will give you darshan. You just do two things." He says, on the way, you will find a deity of Lord Nrsimhadev, rescue him, make a temple for him, and then perform 1,000 Aswamedha Yajna. And King Indradumna says, we'll do that. And then eventually they found Lord Nrsimhadev, they installed Nrsimhadev, they made a temple, and then they went to see Nilamadava, but Nilamadava, as described by Utkala king, it was already covered with the sand. And then the next instructions to perform 1,000 Aswamedha Yajna to King Indradumna. And King Indradumna was so eager to see Lord, he says, that's okay, I'll perform it, no problem. And it's time 4:15, so we'll hear the next week about the pastime, how King Indradumna performs thousands of Aswamedha Yajna, and how he saw Nilamadava in a different form. That's Lord Jagannath appeared. Right? So that the incident that happened of the last Aswamedha Yajna performed by King Indradumna and Lord coming as a wood, that festival is called as Snan Yatra, which is on 4th of June. So next week we will try to hear about this pastime. Any quick comments, thought, questions? All right, so we can stop here. We'll continue tomorrow. Next Sunday again.